Today was our first port of call, so we had a light breakfast in the buffet and then went to the agreed meeting place in the theatre to pick up our tour. I must add that this was very well organised, and when we left the ship there were plenty of staff there to tell us which direction we had to take to get on our bus. Our first stop on our tour was to the Chateau de la Roche Courbon. It was built around 1475 by Johann de la Tour. It was purchased by the Courbon family, which occupied the castle for 2 centuries and transformed it into a more comfortable residence. More alterations were made in the 18th century, and it was eventually sold in 1817, and then was strangely abandoned for 100 years. It was purchased in 1920 by Paul Chenereau, who restored the chateau and its gardens, and is still owned and inhabited by his descendants. We were really looking forward to this visit and were quite disappointed when we were informed that no photography or filming was allowed inside the building, only to be followed by a second disappointment that we were only allowed to see 3 rooms of the entire castle and were then escorted outside. However, as you can see, the gardens were truly wonderful. After our all too brief visit to the chateau, it was time to hop back on the bus again and visit the town of Rochefort. Unfortunately, most of the places we wanted to go to were shut because it was Sunday. So our guide just walked us around the town and showed us the outside of some of the important buildings.
So you see, this is the building where they were making ropes under with the king Louis XIV. And that building is very long, 374 meters long. And there is one part of the building where they were stocking what they are using for making the ropes. And
we were then taken to a square where we had 10 minutes free time. It wasn't even long enough to get a cup of coffee. And so we returned, but while we were on the dockside, it gave us the opportunity to take a few photographs of the ship. We took this opportunity to pop up and have a quick cup of coffee and a couple of cookies. before heading back out into La Rochelle. So here we are in La Rochelle. We came back in after our disappointing tour this morning, and what a pretty little place it is. It's buzzing here. People everywhere in cafes having great fun. The marina here was particularly beautiful, with lots of small boats. We continued our walk through the pretty little town to see what we could find. With all this lovely weather and the atmosphere, it soon got the better of us, so we decided we'd better stop for a drink. So we decided to come into La Rochelle after our trip, and what we decided to do in this pretty little place.
Yeah, so we're going to stop and have a beer.
A beer?
Yes. Well, lager.
Lager. Small or a big one?
A big one. And do you know why?
Why?
Because we can.
So that's exactly what we did. And in fact, the first one was so good and it was so warm that we decided to have a second. After all, it would have been rude not to. And this was the delightful little brasserie where we had them. The service was wonderful and everyone was so friendly. And so we decided to wend our way back towards the ship. Before too much longer, it was time for us to sail. On this occasion we went up on deck to see the pilot boat coming alongside to collect the pilot. I'm constantly amazed at the skill of these men and women doing their job, just hopping on and off boats at full speed in order to keep us all safe. After getting shower and change for dinner, it was time to make our first visit to Martini's bar. Here they serve a specialised range of martinis, all for a cost of around $20 each. After a couple of drinks, it was off to the main dining room and our first look at some of the food we were served there. We actually remembered to photograph it tonight. And after dinner, the night's entertainment began with quizzes, game shows, a show in the theatre, and of course, a few drinks.
So that will be your score. Okay? So once again, you are not allowed to repeat the answer.
So what have you got, Linz?
I've got a brandy Alexander.
Very different from last night's.
Very different. Let's see what it tastes like.
Good?
Oh yes.
Oh good.
Oh yes, that packs a punch.
It did seem that every time you ordered a drink, it came out very different depending on who served it to you. But not to worry, they all tasted good. So that brings us to the end of another day. If you'd like to see more of our episodes, please subscribe to the channel. It costs you nothing. Oh, and don't forget to hit the notification bell. That way you'll be told every time we upload a new video. I'll leave you now with a taster of our next episode.